is what I will do. All right. Well,
Okay.
hello. Hey, ladies. How are you guys today? It's so good to see your beautiful smiling faces. How is it up north? Is it cold like it is here in North Carolina?
Oh
Oh,
yeah, I'm sure it's colder.
Yeah.
Well, yesterday was 3 degrees. Today it's 26 or something.
oh,
So
lovely. Well, I'm sorry, we're still hit. I think we're at around 9 right now, you know.
Ooh,
wow.
okay.
This morning when I woke up, we were below 0.
Okay. I'm not
So,
going to complain now.
No, you better not.
and I think I teased my husband this weekend. It's supposed to be frigid. I said, well, get everything done you need to do because I don't think we'll be leaving the house on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
Thank God for football.
Hey, get some food, right? And stay warm by the fire and get a book, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, good. Make the best of winter, I tell you. Well,
Hmm.
today we're going to talk about immune boosting or natural immunity. You know, we all need to learn more about that, right? With the things going on.
Absolutely.
So, I'm going to share a little bit of what natural immunity is. Most people know, but in case you're out there and you're learning and you want to learn more, it is the antibodies, a protection of your body that creates against a germ once you've been infected with it. Your immune system defends your body against infections and illness, sickness, and disease. And how can you improve your own immune system? You want to. We're going to share some things to do that today. And just right off the top of my head, I'm going to say you plenty of fluids that we know, water, you can even get antioxidant water, exercise, limit your stress level, sleep, of course, get you some probiotics, prebiotics, and kombucha. And now you can pretty much buy that. It's a drink, kombucha, and some people make their own. And just get plenty of enzymes, fruits and vegetables, and limit your sugar intake. All righty.
Absolutely.
What you
I
guys
want to
think?
go back to a little bit on the definition of immunity because you're absolutely right. The body, when it is exposed to a pathogen, bacteria, virus, it does build antibodies so that if it has that exposure again, it will have that memory and it will know what to do with it. But our immune systems are part of our normal. It is the defense system that's already ingrained into who we are. And so it protects us from getting all the nasties in our bodies. And if we are unfortunate enough to get the nasties, then to your point, it does build antibodies so that it has that memory to be able to fight it if there's exposure again. The thing that I find fascinating about our immune system is that for many, many, many years, I always thought that the immune system was this kind of thing out there and it maybe lived in, I don't know, what part of the body. I have no idea. And over the last several years have just been wowed by the knowledge and the science around the fact that, 80+% of our immunity lives in our gut,
Wow.
absolutely lives in our gut.
Mhm.
So
And we can take
it's
charge of that and be responsible for our own
absolutely,
immune system and change it and make it better.
absolutely. So funny because people will run to the store to buy pills and get some other kind of drug or some other type of therapy. And protecting and building our immunity starts with what we put in our mouth.
Mhm.
You know?
Nutrition. And I know
Yeah.
you know a lot about the gut health too, so you can share on that.
Yeah. What we found is that if you give your body, your gut prebiotics, the fiber that feeds the good bacteria, that's a very efficient way to boost it. And you're right, it's like at least 70%, I don't, of your immune system is in your gut if it's healthy.
Right.
So
right.
it's a very important part of your immune system to make sure that it's working.
That's huge.
I love the fact that you talk about, feeding that good bacteria, because I think it's good for our audience to know that our bodies, both internally and externally, are made up of trillions of bacteria. The amount of bacteria that lives on our skin every single day and the amount of bacteria that lives in our guts and inside to help the body do what it's supposed to do, is in the millions and billions and trillions. But it's like I liken it to a football field. You have opposing sides, and you have the bacteria that's doing all the good things for us. And then you have the bacteria that, if it takes over, it will do bad things for us. And so to your point, Bibi, it's very, very true. We want to make sure that we're feeding the good guys, the good stuff, so that they can defeat the bad things that lead to awfulness like leaky gut, and then the whole myriad of disease that come with that.
Right.
Well, and just anytime you do a cleanse of some sort, it is important to put those probiotics, prebiotics back in. That's the good bacteria and the good flora, they say is such, very meaningful to that process. So I kind of jotted down some things that kind of helps boost your immune system, like green tea, ginger. Of course, I always have to bring up garlic on every show because I'm just a fan.
Absolutely.
Bone broth, elderberry. These are things that you guys out there are listening. You can get these pretty much at any store. Raw honey, vitamin D3, turmeric, curcumin, zinc, and quercetin. And mullein is huge for your lung support to boost. So what are some things you guys know about?
Well, some everyday things that you can add to your everyday eating list would be things like citrus. Citrus has high amounts of vitamin C, and vitamin C is very good because it's antioxidants to help keep bugs away and also boost the immune system. Believe it or not, red peppers have even more vitamin C than citrus does. And so including peppers in your cooking, broccoli and other cruciferous vegetables. So broccoli and cauliflower and Brussels sprouts, all of those are full of vitamins and minerals and antioxidants that are really, really good for boosting. And they contain the fiber that the good bacteria needs to eat on in order to flourish and survive. And so we talk about purchasing pre and probiotics. But one of the things that I encourage my clients to do is to eat their prebiotics.
Yes.
So increase the amount of leafy green vegetables and cruciferous vegetables, and eat the rainbow. Eat the rainbow, because every part of our body and all those different bacteria need different things. And so if we want to cover the whole gambit, we want to eat, I'm trying to think, one of my favorite plant doctors, I think it's Dr. Furman, talks about, G-bombs, making sure you're getting your greens and your beans and your onions and your mushrooms and your seeds and your berries. And he encourages you to eat them every day to make sure that we are giving those good bugs what they need to keep our immune system high.
Nutrition is the way, I tell you.
Yeah.
Best way, God's way.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I just heard a really interesting podcast on what was it called again?
Was it Dark Horse?
Dark Horse, yes. It's like a 2-hour interview with 2 doctors that researched vitamin D and COVID. And their conclusion was basically you are very likely to not get COVID. If you get it, it's going to be mild if you have enough vitamin D.
Yeah.
And what was interesting is that they talked about how it's a certain time of the day. In the winter in America, we really can't just go outside and get enough. Depends where you are, what time of day, and so they were talking about how most people are really deficient, especially in the winters. And they were talking about how it's not really flu season, but it's low vitamin D season. It has everything to do with that. So just by boosting your immune system with vitamin D can do wonders for your immune system, and not just COVID, but we were talking about things like cancer and all the good things that your immune system does. The innate immune system.
Didn't you mention there was an app too that you can follow?
Yeah, it's interesting. There's one called Vitamin D Minder. So that can tell you from where you are when you can go out and get vitamin D, because it has to be a special ray of the sun that gives the vitamin D. So that's a really interesting app to use.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that, but I love that and it makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that the challenge, as you kind of alluded to, though, is that, living in different parts of the world,
Mhm.
it really precludes people from being outside. And even when they are outside, we are such um, um, a nation of slapping on
Sunscreen.
sunscreen,
Yeah.
which is really amazing to me. I've not seen that special that you talked about on Dark Horse, but there are several studies that I've looked at, and in both the UK and in India, they have done some really lovely research around the importance of vitamin D. And early on in 2020, I did note that one of the reports showed that many of the persons who had been admitted to the hospital, they found that these were individuals who had low levels of vitamin D.
Yeah, right.
There is some research on using up to 50,000 IUs, but I encourage our audience to always check with their doctor to make sure that taking that high of a therapeutic dose is good for them, and then find out what would be the daily, whether it's 1,000 IU, 2,000 or 4,000 IU to sustain. And always, when you go in for your physicals, for those of you that still get physicals, having that blood work done is important to make sure that you are within the range. And I think that the normal range right now is somewhere between 35 to 100 per how they measurement. It just went out of my head, forgive me. But you want to make sure that if you are below that you're talking to your doctor about getting that initial big boost and then sustaining every single day, because it is absolutely one of the things that's important. Along with that is vitamin K2, to make sure that the body is able to assimilate the vitamin D that you're taking, because the body will accept whatever you give it, but you want it to actually assimilate it in order for it to be useful to the body.
Well, just about everyone we were talking about, when the vitamin D is deficiency, anyone that's sick, but especially the big C word that we, the cancer, we have to be careful.
The bad cell disease.
We have to be careful what we say now. We can be, censored on these, the algorithm.
What would you know about that, Revonda?
But, going back to vitamin D, it's so important, but also vitamin D3. And then another source, if we want to look at the foods, I have jotted here, salmon and the tuna, mackerel, and of course, I had written down the sunshine. So I'm so thankful that you told us about that app, Bibi. I did not know about that. I'm gonna definitely take part in doing that. Another one is vitamin B complex. The foods there is whole grains, legumins, and mushrooms that you had mentioned, Debbie. Vitamin E, you're gonna have your avocados, nuts, seed, almond oils, avocado oil. I like to cook with the unrefined coconut oil. And then I have another one here, is your zinc, which is, is important. Oysters, red meat, poultry, and nuts. So I know almond is one of your better nuts. What is the other one is the best that's to eat? Is it walnuts?
Walnuts.
Yes.
Walnuts are very, very good, and the oils in walnuts are very good for us.
Good deal.
Macadamia nuts, which you don't hear a lot about, but they're also a good nut. And I think they don't get a lot of good PR because they're a little costly to purchase on a regular basis. But
you have to be careful with those too. I think there's a lot of mold in them. So if you guys have a link to, a site to where to get, raw nuts or the best source of, organic nuts, do share that. I think there's one called rawnuts.com. I'm not sure.
I don't know. Okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one. Because of that concern, I tend to discourage people from buying nuts in bulk. You want to be able to get nuts that are probably in a bag and sealed, and know your source, and definitely stick with nuts that are organic, which means that they're non-GMO as well. So
yeah,
I think that those are important. Yeah, good supplements for the body. And we can start with getting them with what we eat. And you mentioned at the top of the hour, Revonda, the importance of hydration. And so
always, right? That's the number one.
Absolutely. It's interesting because I had a situation this week where I got a call about a woman who is in memory care right now, unfortunately, and she was in isolation because she had tested positive and for COVID, and they were starting to become concerned because she had stopped eating and she wasn't drinking anything. And so, my question to him is, so she can go without food. She cannot go without hydration. So what's your plan B? You have to have a plan to ensure that, well or sick, that you get enough fluids in your body. Like I said, we can live without food, but we cannot live, without being hydrated. And to that point, that hydration is important because when we are well and trying to maintain that healthy immune system, if we are dehydrated, then the body can't properly function to assimilate all the good food. So you can put in all the good food, you can put in all the food you want, but if you're not hydrated, as you all well know, it's all for naught.
And what's so cool is there are different waters that will actually be the carrier to your nutrition and your supplements, because again, unless you're absorbing that, you're just passing it on through. So
Exactly
information of that. And then also, Bibi, I'm sure you can share with the gut, leaky gut and things like that, and how, if there's not that barrier there, the nutrition's not going out into the body. And so there's ways to heal those things naturally.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. For the gut, the fibers, of course, are important to feed the good bacteria, and then the villi in the gut will grow and make a barrier so you don't get the leaky gut. But to heal the gut, if you have serious gut issues, getting enough omega-3 is a very gentle way to heal it first, and then slowly introduce the fibers. Because if you have serious gut issues, you want to be gentle to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You find people who get very excited to heal their gut, and they go overboard on either the omega-3s or on the fiber. And then I get the call, I'm gassy, I'm bloated, I've got diarrhea, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, your gut is really jacked. You need to be kind to it and slowly move it back into.
Sometimes a good fast, just break that so it can just, rest time and heal.
Absolutely. I love that you talked about omega-3s though, because it is a very, very important substance for our healing, to decrease inflammation in the body. And when inflammation decreases, then our immune system can definitely get better. So
yeah, that's for sure.
Can you talk about different sources of omega-3 for us?
I work with one that is combined with antioxidants. So it's simulating eating a whole fish. And then we've added vitamin D, which you'll also find in fish. There's antioxidants in the olive oil that protects the omega-3, the fish oil. Because if it's by itself, which is never is in nature,
correct,
it's connected with the antioxidants, it'll last about 35 hours in the body. With just fish oil, it only has about 3 to 5 hours, which is not enough to get it all the way into the tissue. And that's, of course, where you want it in order to talk about optimal brain health, optimal heart health, boost immune system, and many, many other things.
But we're able to get it from both animal source and plant source?
Yeah, you can get it from, we have a product from algae, and then we have one from fish. But yeah, it's because the fish, of course, gets it from the algae. So we're just going directly to the source.
To the algae,
yeah.
And then, Revonda, you have water that I know that you support. I like to call water technology.
I like to say antioxidant water, because it just is so powerful in what it can do and how it can change your life. So, but yeah, I know you have some things as well you'd love to share with folks. We want to.
Well, we're talking about the immune system today, and I think there are many things that we can do. You guys know me well enough to know that nutrition and hydration and elimination are my three biggies. But one of the things that messes with our gut is the fact that our food sources are sprayed. And even if we make best efforts to get in um, organic, if an organic farmer is next door to a non-organic farmer, you have that spray that carries over in the wind. And so I am very much an advocate of, yes, eating those things that you need, supplementing with waters and omega-3s, regardless of the source. But yeah, one of the products that I'm in love with is one that removes glyphosate from glyphosate, by the way, for the listening audience, if you don't know, is an herbicide that is used primarily in Roundup, and it's sprayed on peaches and almond trees and everywhere, unless it's an organic farm. And if you don't have to look very far. If you put glyphosate in the website, you'll see that it's been found in mother's milk. It's in Tropicana orange juice. It's in our food system. And it is a huge contributor to C-reactive protein indicators, which are the indicator for inflammation in the body. And we know that if we don't get it out, and this is a product we have to unfortunately use on a regular basis. So just like we have to eat and supplement and hydrate, unfortunately, we have to continue to mitigate what goes in, because sometimes even our best efforts are sabotaged by those who don't believe.
Well, there's even different levels of pH in water that can emulsify these pesticides and herbicides off. That's so incredible to know. Knowledge is everything. And a lot of people don't realize, if you're living in town or in the city and your water has chlorine in it, which by law they have to, when you're washing, people are just washing their fruits and vegetables off in their tap water is full of chlorine. The fruits and vegetables, just like your skin when you're taking a bath, is going to soak up those chlorines, and then you're
that's really interesting you brought that up. For years I kept orchids, and when you are watering them, you literally give the whole container a bath, because they have big air roots. And I attended an orchid seminar once, and they were saying, let your water sit for a week. So every week I've got gallons of water that I'm just letting air, so that the chlorine would be removed from the water, because it would do harm to the orchid. And as you were talking about that, it occurs to me, how is it that we take all this effort to ensure that a plant doesn't get the chlorine, but we don't do that for ourselves?
It's a golden nugget. I did not realize. I mean, I knew that about, the properties of certain waters. If you've got your hydrogen and your oxygen, it's full of, living water, full of those bubbles. A little bit, it's going to evaporate. Well, same thing with sulfur gases in
absolutely.
And then a lot of waters, like 80% of the water in America had 80% is got the what's it called? It's a gas. It's called caloric acid, I think is what it's called. Something like that.
Not sure.
Something like just left me, but it's very common,
and
it's just a gas. It'll rise out. So, but those things, they're in all of our waters. So,
so as we talk about our immune system, the other thing that's important is to remember that our skin is the largest organ in our body. And so to that point, it's really important to be aware of the exposure that we have to chemicals and the environmental exposures, because whether it's a lotion that we put on, or underarm deodorant, or what we brush our teeth with, what we wash our clothes with, all of that gets into the body and potentially has the opportunity to decrease the body's ability to keep its immune function high. And sometimes people look at me like I have a horn coming out of my head or a third eye when I talk about that. Family members, actually, they're like, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it really does matter, because
especially right now, is a pet peeve of mine, is all the sanitary lotions and gels and stuff people are constantly putting on their hands, thinking that they're living in a chemical bubble, putting all these things in. Within seconds it's in your bloodstream, and then they're just constantly putting this on their skin, especially nurses and doctors, day in and day out, and going in a patient's room and out. And it's just the world we find ourselves living in. And for gut health, we need, when I was a kid,
Bugs.
walking around barefooted, and you need that dirt in the body,
Yeah,
the microbiome and
absolutely.
all that working together the way God intended it, instead of this chemical world that, they're feeding us through our food. And, things like acidic is great for the skin, and they're giving us alkaline products to put on our skin, and then they're giving us acidic foods to eat. It's
Yeah,
It's
it's kind of
very true.
contra.
Yeah. In relation to that, I also work with something called beta glucan. And that's exactly something that is removed pretty much because we're so sterile. Everything is so clean, the food we eat. We used to have it just on fruits and vegetables and around us, and it actually boosts your immune system.
Mhm,
And so we've made a supplement to make it easy and put it back in.
mhm.
And that is something, together with iron, will boost your immune system in like 2 to 4 days, which is what we all
These
need,
days,
right?
yeah.
Especially these days, but actually always, you have to have a good immune system because it's good for so many things. And it's a very complicated system, but
we can make it
I
simple.
think that we've made it more complicated than it needed to be.
Exactly.
As you were talking, I was thinking about all the different diet trends that are out there, paleo and keto and whole food and plant-based and um, whatever. And paleo came to mind because part of that premise is that, you go back to eat like they did back in the rock ages. Well, if you take that whole concept, and let me say at the start, I've not read so the whole philosophy, but if you take that same concept and think about how they lived outdoors. They were barefoot. They touched the earth.
right.
The Baalukans, they had access to that. I mean, if we literally were to go back and look at the ages before we decided that, being clothed from head to toe and having socks and stockings and, you know, and no, they were not long lived, but they usually got killed because they were attacked by some other animal, not because of disease.
Right,
Or
right.
they might have had mouth disease, but they had access to all of the things that we seem to be running away from.
Talking about gut health, I mean, I like to cook pretty simple. I was just raised in the South here, meat and potatoes, your meat and vegetables. And that's what we tend to do, because these casseroles and things, which is also very, popular in the South. But I noticed when I cook those casseroles, my stomach is just rumbling. It's just, you don't need all that stuff, and keep it simple. you know, get back to what, like you said, those rainbow of colors and the fruits and vegetables. We were talking earlier, BB, how people eat without thinking for comfort, and
Oh,
out
yes.
of a bag and a box and a can, something to pop in the microwave, which kills all of the enzymes, which is no nutritional value whatsoever. And eat raw. Raw is best. But yeah, and supplement is so important, especially when it comes to those enzymes.
It's interesting because one of the things that I work with my clients is to encourage them to going back into the kitchen. The large majority are suffering with different types of diseases, obesity being one of them, and they are eating out. They're eating quickly. They're going through boxes and fast foods or restaurants. And the most successful persons are persons who, to your very good point, Revonda, are eating simply. They're cooking at home. They're eating. I have one young lady, she does mono meals. It cracks the devil out of me. It cracks me up. But I mean, she will do a mono meal, and she doesn't want to have a salad every day. So she might steam up a bunch of potatoes and put them in the air fryer and turn them into French fries, or, do a bunch of broccoli. But to your point, this whole idea of trying to combine a whole lot of different things just does not work for her. But she has been able to very successfully turn around, the concern that she brought in, because she is eating mono meals that are consisting of greens and vegetables and the rainbow. And she eats the things that she loves. And so this whole idea of trying to try a whole bunch of new stuff, she's like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
She eats the things that she loves.
I challenge everyone to ask you, do you have a steamer? Like just
Oh, yes.
put a thing on your pot to steam your vegetables.
Yes.
Try it. If you don't, go get one.
Yes.
Your fruits and vegetables that you're cooking that way, it's just so much sweeter and good, and it's fast, especially if you have a
And they
cat.
retain the nutrients.
Yes.
They retain the nutrients. I mean, things like broccoli and, all the cruciferous vegetables and even the leafy greens, you're right. They are best consumed raw and they boost our immune system a whole lot faster because they haven't lost the nutrients. But if raw is not it, I agree with you, then steam it.
Yes,
One of the best things my Instapot ever did for me was have that steam function.
yeah.
Steam
Yeah.
everything.
And it's fast, especially with a gas oven, a gas stove. So,
Right.
well, girls, I know we're running up on our 30 minutes here. Let's have some final. Bibi, would you like to share something final with everyone today?
Yeah, so I want to mention I work with at-home blood test for omega-3, but also vitamin D. So I just had myself tested and I can't wait to see my numbers.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to have a quick look and how is your body doing with those things, let me know.
Okay. All right, Miss Debbie.
All right. And I would just like to end up by saying that, we are all looking for ways to prevent colds and flu and viruses and illnesses. And the first step might be to just visit your local grocery store and plan a meal that includes powerful foods that we've discussed here and supplements to ensure that if that gut is a little weak, it's getting better so that your immune system can do what it was built to do. Fight those pathogens, bacteria, and germs.
Amen. And it will. When you give it what it needs, your body will do the healing. And
Absolutely.
Finalize with, I know you can get overwhelmed we'll have a lot of information and people get overwhelmed and they just give up and don't do anything. But just remember, you can do a little bit daily. You can change, just little things can make a big difference. So
absolutely.
well, you guys go out and have a great weekend. It's good to see you again. We'll see each other again in about 2 weeks. And until then, stay safe, stay warm, and keep your immune system built.
That's right.
Take care, ladies.
Yeah.